it's totally redefined everything, is Marc Lane is a man who is constantly assaulting the system. You cannot talk to Marc Lane without him starting to fix whatever needs to be fixed in your system. And he does it from a value set. His value set has to do with justice and with workability in the world for everyone. So there are official things I should say about him. He's the chairman of the Illinois Task Force on Social Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Enterprise, but he's so much more. He is as dedicated and caring a professional as you will meet. He thinks globally. He grasps systems as a whole. And he will be diving into this conversation. And I suggest that we think about our systems today. The system that we've internalized, the systems that are our family, our work, and our world. And that we hold that each one of us is a systems interventionist. Marc can't keep himself from doing it. Welcome. Marc.
Bob. Shall I stand or sit or
you can
lie down?
Whatever turns you on for your opening, and then I think we'll sit
down.
Oh,
stand, right? So, hello, everybody. First, I want to thank Judith and Bob for their gracious hospitality and the opportunity to serve on this extraordinary panel, and especially with my good friends and personal hero, Professor Muhammad Yunus. I think the personal hero of all of us. Asking a lawyer to limit comments to 5 minutes is really an unnatural expectation. And I'm going to address my comments to you, Professor, if I may. Your work in social business is unprecedented. It's extraordinarily impactful. And it's a reflection of initially of the poverty within your own country. Well, as you know, poverty is not limited to the developing world. Here in the United States, we have 45 million people living in poverty. As a consequence, the social sector is under enormous stress here. And at the same time, we have two phenomena that we have to face. One is philanthropy, as important as it is, isn't up to the task of addressing the deepening social problems we face. If you look at the aggregate assets of foundations in the United States, they still have not returned to their high water mark of 2006. So for charities now to approach foundations, even to maintain their asks, let alone increase them, is an exercise in futility. And at the same time, governments can't be counted on. It has its own fiscal problems at every level. So more and more nonprofits are becoming self-reliant, self-sufficient, embracing earned revenue strategies, creating so-called social enterprises, and social purpose businesses are also emerging. And as a consequence, there are a number of new emerging business forms, models, structures being created in the U.S. We have the Benefit Corporation, which seeks to mitigate the fiduciary risk when managers of companies make decisions that don't drive financial value to shareholders exclusively, but instead are accountable to all the stakeholders of the company. Trying to alleviate the tension between money and mission. We have the Social Impact Bond, or Pay for Success Bond, which is a futures contract on social outcomes, enormously promising and growing. We have the Flexible Purpose Corporation in California and other state-specific examples. And I've had a hand in each of these. Then we've had the L3C, the Low Profit Limited Liability Company. The point of the L3C is either as a subsidiary or an affiliate of a nonprofit or as a freestanding social purpose business to facilitate investments by foundations which count against their distribution requirements. So in lieu of grants, a combination of grants, they actually make investments in for-profit ventures that have social purposes, thereby shoring up that venture's capital structure. Those foundations will forego market rate returns. In so doing, they can subsidize market rate returns to other players who come in concurrently or subsequently through a tranched or layered capital structure. The whole point is to engage the investment community, to encourage investors who otherwise wouldn't have a piece of the social sector, now to give them the value proposition they need to invest, and to leverage foundation investment, having foundations serve as social venture capitalists. So, I come to my questions. Each derives from a quote in one of two books of yours that I had the pleasure of reading. And I'll read the quote first, then briefly my question. First is from Creating a World Without Poverty, a book you may have seen.
What is it?
A social business might be defined as a non-loss, non-dividend business. Rather than being passed on to investors, the surplus generated by the social business is reinvested in the business. Ultimately is passed on to the target group of beneficiaries in such forms as lower prices, better service, and greater accessibility. All noble aims, clearly. My question, do you see value in attracting private capital to the social sector? And if so, don't we need to give investors a competitive financial value proposition to entice them? Second question, again, a quote from a book called Building Social Business. They used your term, social business, in the title. You may have a lawsuit, I'm not sure. Here's the quote.
You got a job.
You know I work on a third. Here's the quote. In my judgment, making selfishness and selflessness work through the same vehicle will serve neither master well. The equivocation between profit motive and the social motive introduces a weakness that will make the L3C less effective in its pursuit of humanitarian goals than the pure social business. Now, you are generally supportive of the L3C, I should point out, but there is this criticism. You know, I wrote the law. So, my question, rather than looking at the motives or judging the motives of these various participants, aren't we better off recognizing that different stakeholders legitimately have different objectives, different investment objectives, along a continuum of social investors all the way to market-driven institutional investors? And shouldn't we be encouraging their support to the social sector based upon the value proposition that they're looking for and that we can give them? So, thank you. I'll look forward to your responses.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.